Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing on a bustling street in ancient Jerusalem. The sun beats down, the air hums with excitement, and a crowd gathers, their voices rising in a chorus of hope. At the center of it all is a man, not on a chariot or a war horse, but riding a humble donkey. Palm branches wave, cloaks carpet the ground, and shouts of Hosanna echo through the city. This is no ordinary day. It's the beginning of Holy Week, the most sacred and transformative week in the Christian faith. Today, we're not just retelling history. We're embarking on a journey through the life-changing events from Palm Sunday to Maundy Thursday, uncovering truths that still speak to us now. Whether you're a lifelong believer or just curious, this story will challenge you, inspire you, and maybe even reshape the way you see the world. So settle in, because this is a tale you won't want to miss. Holy Week is the heartbeat of Christianity, a time when the life, teachings, and sacrifice of Jesus Christ come into sharp focus. It's a week packed with drama, emotion, and profound meaning, moments of triumph, conflict, silence, and ultimate love. We'll walk through each day, from the crowds welcoming Jesus as a king to the quiet betrayal that sets the stage for his arrest. Along the way, I'll share personal reflections and stories from real people whose lives echo the lessons of these ancient events. My hope is that by the end, you'll not only understand Holy Week, but feel its impact in your own heart. Let's begin where it all starts, Palm Sunday, a day of celebration tinged with destiny. Palm Sunday, a king like no other. Let's set the scene. Jerusalem is alive with Passover pilgrims, their voices blending into a vibrant hum. The city gates are crowded, and suddenly, a ripple of excitement spreads. Jesus of Nazareth is coming. The Gospels, Matthew 21, 1-11 to be exact, tell us he sends 2 disciples ahead to a village, saying, "Go, you'll find a donkey tied there with her colt. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone asks, say, the Lord needs them." The disciples obey, and soon Jesus rides into Jerusalem, not on a stallion, but on that donkey, fulfilling the prophecy of Zechariah. "See, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey." The crowd goes wild. They spread their cloaks on the road, cut palm branches, and shout, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." The city stirs, people whispering, "Who is this?" and others answering, "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth." This is Palm Sunday, a moment etched in Christian memory. It's a scene of joy, but there's tension beneath the surface. The crowds see Jesus as the Messiah, the one to free Israel from Roman rule. But the religious leaders, Pharisees and priests, watch with narrowed eyes. To them, Jesus isn't a savior, he's a threat. His teachings challenge their authority, and this public display only deepens their fear. They worry his popularity could spark a revolt, endangering their fragile truce with Rome. Palm Sunday marks the start of a week that will change everything, but not in the way anyone expects. Now, let's step back and think about this. Why a donkey? In those days, kings rode horses to show power, but a donkey signaled peace and humility. Jesus is saying, "I'm a king, but not the kind you're used to." The crowds want a warrior to overthrow empires. Jesus offers a kingdom of love and sacrifice. It's a bold move, and it sets the tone for the week ahead. But here's where it gets personal. Have you ever cheered for something or someone, only to realize later they weren't what you thought? I have. A few years back, I was convinced a new job would be my savior, promising security and status. I threw my energy into it, much like those crowds waving palms. But when it didn't deliver, I felt let down, even betrayed. That's the danger of misplaced expectations, and it's what many in Jerusalem faced. They wanted a political hero, not a spiritual one. Let me tell you about Maria, someone I met at a community center. She grew up in a rough neighborhood, pinning her hopes on getting into a top college to escape. When she was rejected, it crushed her, like the crowds who'd later turn on Jesus when he didn't meet their demands. But Maria found a church that welcomed her, showing her that true freedom comes from faith, not circumstances. She started mentoring kids in her community, finding purpose in helping others. Her story reminds me of Palm Sunday because it shows how God often enters our lives in unexpected ways, challenging us to let go of our scripts and trust His. What's the takeaway here? Palm Sunday isn't just about a parade. It's about recognizing Jesus for who He really is, not a genie to grant our wishes, but a King who transforms our hearts. It asks us to examine what we're cheering for. Are we seeking God's will, or are we waving palms for our own agendas? As we move forward, keep this image in mind: a humble king on a donkey, inviting us to follow a different kind of path. Holy Monday, clearing the clutter of worship. The next day, Holy Monday, brings us to the heart of Jerusalem's temple. Jesus walks in expecting a place of prayer, but what he finds shocks him. The courtyard is a marketplace, merchants hawking animals for sacrifices, money changers jangling coins, turning worship into a business. Matthew 21:12-13 captures it vividly. Jesus flips over tables, scatters coins, and drives out the sellers, saying, "It is written, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you've made it a den of robbers." This isn't just a cleanup, it's a statement. Jesus is calling out the corruption of worship, demanding a return to what matters, sincere devotion to God. This moment is electric. The temple was sacred, the center of Jewish life, but it had lost its way. People were going through the motions, buying sacrifices like tickets to God's favor, while the heart of worship, love, humility, connection, was buried under greed. Jesus' actions say enough. He's not just angry, he's heartbroken. He wants worship to be real, not a transaction. As John 4:23 puts it, God seeks those who worship in spirit and in truth. Holy Monday is a wake-up call, not just for the temple merchants, but for anyone who's let faith become routine. Let's bring this closer to home. Have you ever felt like your spiritual life is cluttered? I have. There was a time when my faith felt more like a checklist: attend church, say a prayer, move on. It was mechanical, like those temple transactions. Jesus' cleansing of the temple challenges us to look at our own temples, our hearts, our priorities. What's taking up space that should belong to God? Maybe it's endless scrolling on our phones, chasing success, or even religious habits that feel empty. I've seen churches fall into this trap too, prioritizing flashy events over fostering real community. I once visited a megachurch where the service felt like a rock concert, complete with merchandise booths. It was fun, but I left wondering, where was the stillness, the space to meet God? Here's a story that brings this to life. I met James at a soup kitchen where I volunteered. He was a businessman, successful but restless. His life was full, big house, fancy car, but empty inside. One day, while serving meals, he overheard a homeless man pray with such gratitude it stopped him cold. That man had nothing, yet his faith was alive. James realized his temple was cluttered with ambition, leaving no room for God. Inspired by Jesus' example, he started simplifying, cutting back on work, volunteering more, focusing on relationships. It wasn't easy, but it brought him peace he hadn't known. James's story is Holy Monday in action, a call to clear out distractions and make worship real again. So what does this mean for us? Holy Monday asks us to take inventory. What's crowding your spiritual life? Maybe it's worry, bitterness, or even good things that have taken over. Jesus invites us to overturn those tables, to make space for prayer, gratitude, and connection with God. As we journey through Holy Week, let's commit to keeping our temples, our hearts, open and authentic. Holy Tuesday, stories that challenge and change. By Holy Tuesday, the tension in Jerusalem is palpable. Jesus returns to the temple, not to disrupt, but to teach, and his words cut like a blade. He uses parables, simple stories with deep truths, to confront the religious leaders and call everyone to account. Let's look at 3 from Matthew's Gospel, starting with the parable of the 2 sons in Matthew 21:28-32. A father asks his 2 sons to work in his vineyard. The first says, "No way," but later goes. The second says, "Sure, Dad," but never shows up. Jesus asks, which one did the Father's will? The answer is clear: the first, who acted, not the one who just talked. Then he drops a bombshell. Tax collectors and prostitutes are entering God's kingdom ahead of you because they believed John the Baptist, but you didn't. Next is the parable of the wicked tenants, Matthew 21:33-46. A landowner rents his vineyard to tenants, but when he sends servants to collect the harvest, they beat and kill them. Finally, he sends his son, thinking they'll respect him. Instead, they murder him to steal the vineyard. Jesus asks, what will the owner do? The crowd knows. He'll punish the tenants and give the vineyard to others. The religious leaders squirm. They see themselves in those tenants, rejecting God's messengers, including Jesus. Then there's the parable of the wedding banquet, Matthew 22:1-14. A king throws a feast for his son, but the invited guests snub him, too busy with their own lives. Furious, the king sends servants to invite everyone off the streets, good, bad, anyone. The hall fills, but one guest shows up without proper clothes, and the king casts him out. The message? God's invitation is open to all, but it demands a response, a heart ready to honor the occasion. These parables aren't just stories, they're mirrors. The two sons asks if our actions match our words. The wicked tenants warns against rejecting God's call. The wedding banquet reminds us that grace is free but not cheap. It requires humility and commitment. Jesus isn't subtle here. He's calling out the religious leaders for their hypocrisy, chasing status while ignoring God's heart. But he's also speaking to the crowd, to us, urging us to live faith that's real, not just a show. Let's make this personal. These parables hit me hard because I've been both sons, the one who says no but comes around, and the one who promises big but flakes out. I've also ignored God's servants, those nudges to do good, because I was too caught up in my own plans. Our world is full of wicked tenants too, leaders who hoard power, companies that exploit, even churches that lose sight of love. But we're not off the hook. How often do we say yes to God on Sunday, but live like he doesn't exist by Monday? The wedding banquet challenges me most. God's grace is for everyone, but am I showing up dressed with a heart ready to serve, not just take? I want to share a story about Sarah, a college student I mentored. She was sharp, a debate team star, always talking about justice and kindness. But when it came to action, she often fell short. She signed up to help with a charity drive, but ditched it for a party. Later, at a Bible study, she heard the parable of the two sons and felt a pang. It was like Jesus was calling her out. Sarah apologized to the team, took on a bigger role, and ended up raising thousands for a local shelter. Her change wasn't just about the drive. It was about becoming someone whose faith showed in her choices. That's what Holy Tuesday does. It holds up a mirror and says, be real. What about you? Which parable speaks loudest? Are you promising God one thing, but doing another? Are you ignoring his call because it's inconvenient? Holy Tuesday is an invitation to align your life with your faith, to let Jesus' words shape your actions. As we move deeper into Holy Week, let's carry these stories with us, letting them challenge and change us. Holy Wednesday, the weight of silence. Holy Wednesday is different. The Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, go quiet. There are no teachings, no miracles recorded. It's as if Jerusalem holds its breath. But behind the scenes, something dark is stirring. Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' 12 disciples, slips away to meet the chief priests. Driven by greed or perhaps disillusionment, he agrees to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, as Matthew 26:14-16 tells us. This deal is the spark that will ignite the events of Jesus' arrest and crucifixion. For the other disciples, it's a time of unease, sensing something's coming but not knowing what. This silence is powerful. After the noise of Palm Sunday's crowds, Monday's confrontation, and Tuesday's teachings, Wednesday feels like a pause before a storm. It's a reminder that God often works in the quiet, preparing us for what's next. For Judas, this silence is a crossroads. He could choose loyalty, but instead, he trades his teacher for coins. It's a chilling moment, one that echoes through history as a warning of how temptation can twist even those closest to Jesus. Let's reflect on this. Silence can be uncomfortable, can't it? In our busy lives, we fill it with noise, music, notifications, chatter, because stillness forces us to face ourselves. I've had my own Holy Wednesday moments, times when I stood at a moral fork in the road. Once, a friend asked me to cover for him in a lie at work. In the quiet of deciding, I felt the weight of that choice. Judas's betrayal reminds us that silence is where character is tested. What do we do when no one's watching? What's our 30 pieces of silver, the thing we'd trade our values for? I met someone named Tom who faced this kind of moment. He worked in sales, and his boss pressured him to exaggerate a product's benefits to close a deal. In the quiet of his office, Tom wrestled with it. He thought of Judas, choosing money over Jesus, and decided he couldn't cross that line. He refused, risking his job. Months later, he landed a better role at a company that valued honesty. Tom's story shows that silence isn't empty. It's a space to choose courage, to align with what's right. Holy Wednesday asks us to listen in the quiet. What's God saying to you in those still moments? Are you tempted to sell out for approval, comfort, or gain? As Holy Week unfolds, let's use the silence to draw closer to God, to choose faithfulness over fleeting rewards. Maundy Thursday, a meal, a betrayal, a love that endures. We've reached Maundy Thursday, the emotional peak of Holy Week. The name Maundy comes from the Latin mandatum, meaning commandment, because today Jesus gives his disciples a new one, to love each other as he loves them. The day centers on the Last Supper, a Passover meal Jesus shares with his 12 disciples in an upper room in Jerusalem. Matthew 26:17-30 sets the stage. Jesus takes bread, blesses it, breaks it, and says, "Take, eat, this is my body." Then he takes a cup of wine, gives thanks, and says, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." With these words, he institutes Holy Communion, a sacred act Christians still practice to remember his sacrifice. But the supper isn't just about bread and wine. Jesus knows what's coming: betrayal, arrest, death. He looks at his disciples and says, "One of you will betray me." Shock ripples through the room. Each asks, "Is it me, Lord?" In John 13:26-30, Jesus hands a piece of bread to Judas Iscariot, saying, "What you're about to do quickly." Judas leaves, and the others think he's running an errand. Jesus also turns to Peter, his rock, and says, "Before the rooster crows, you'll deny me 3 times. Peter protests, but Jesus knows human weakness. Then comes a moment that defines Maundy Thursday. Jesus gets up, grabs a basin and towel, and starts washing his disciples' feet, a job for the lowest servant. Peter objects, but Jesus says, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." It's a lesson in humility, a call to serve others no matter how beneath it seems. Later, he gives that new commandment, John 13:34-35, "Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you're my disciples." After the meal, Jesus leads his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane. There, the weight of what's coming hits him. He prays, "Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not my will, but yours." His sweat falls like blood, Luke 22:44 says, showing his anguish. Then Judas arrives with guards, betrays Jesus with a kiss, and he's arrested. Peter, in a panic, cuts off a servant's ear, but Jesus stops him, saying, "Those who live by the sword die by it." He's taken to the high priest, and Peter, true to Jesus' word, denies knowing him 3 times before the rooster crows. Maundy Thursday is a tapestry of love and loss. The supper shows Jesus' heart, giving himself fully, even knowing betrayal looms. The foot washing flips power upside down, saying leadership is service. Gethsemane reveals his humanity, wrestling with fear yet choosing God's will. And the arrest sets the stage for the cross, where love will triumph. This day speaks to me deeply. Loving like Jesus, selflessly, even when it hurts, is hard. I've failed at it, like when I ignored a friend's call for help because I was too busy. But I'm inspired by people who get it right. Sister Clara, a nun I met, spent decades caring for orphans, washing their feet through tireless service. Her life showed me what Maundy Thursday means, love that doesn't count the cost. Let me tell you about David, a teacher I know. He noticed a student, Emma, struggling with bullying. Instead of looking away, he spent his lunch breaks mentoring her, listening, building her up. Emma later said those moments saved her life. David's small acts of service echoed Jesus' foot washing, showing that love transforms through humble deeds. What does Maundy Thursday ask of us? To love like Jesus, actively, humbly, even when it's messy. It's sharing a meal with someone lonely, forgiving a hurt, or serving without expecting thanks. As Holy Week nears its climax, let's carry this love forward, letting it shape how we live. Conclusion: living the lessons of Holy Week. We've walked through Holy Week together, from the cheers of Palm Sunday to the shadows of Maundy Thursday. Each day carries a lesson, a challenge to live faith that's real and transformative. Let's sum them up. First, Palm Sunday teaches humility. Jesus rode a donkey, not a chariot, showing us to trust God's plan over worldly glory. Like Maria, who found freedom in faith, we're called to cheer for what lasts. Second, Holy Monday calls for authenticity. Jesus cleared the temple, urging us to clear our hearts of distractions. James's story reminds us to make space for God, letting worship be sincere. Third, Holy Tuesday demands action. The parables, two sons, wicked tenants, wedding banquet, ask if our faith shows in our choices. Sarah's turnaround shows that real belief changes how we live. Fourth, Holy Wednesday is about silence. Judas's betrayal warns us to choose wisely when no one's watching. Tom's courage in a quiet moment shows that integrity shines in the stillness. Finally, Maundy Thursday is love in action. Jesus' supper, foot washing, and surrender in Gethsemane call us to serve and sacrifice. David's care for Emma proves that small acts of love can change lives. So what now? Holy Week isn't just a story, it's an invitation. Reflect on your life. Where can you be more humble, authentic, faithful, courageous, loving? Maybe it's calling someone you've drifted from, serving at a shelter, or praying with fresh sincerity. The stories of Maria, James, Sarah, Tom, and David show that these aren't abstract ideals. They're choices we make every day. As we close, remember that Holy Week doesn't end here. Good Friday's cross and Easter's empty tomb are coming, promising hope and life. If this journey stirred something in you, share it with someone. Talk about it, live it. Let's keep exploring faith together, letting Holy Week's truth shape us into people who reflect Jesus' love and grace. May this week be a turning point, drawing you closer to the God who gave everything for you.